Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the new episode of The Family Show, the show where we break down the retrospective of the Fast and Furious series. Today, we're talking about the fourth episode, Fast and Furious. It came out in 2009, and it had the return of a whole lot of characters from the original film. But now, why don't we just jump right into it and start introducing the guys that are on for today's show? First up, we have call sign Coach Kyle. How you doing, Zach?
Good. Let me just ask you one question. Do I look like a boss?
Do you look like a boss? I don't actually remember that.
Is there a good answer to that question? I don't think so.
Is there? I don't know. But, next up on the list here, because he's the next one that popped up in the StreamYard today, we have call sign Whiskers Ferris Malthana.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Doing good.
How you doing, boss?
I'm doing good, boss. Hey.
Does he look like a boss?
Hey, Zach, you're lucky. Zach, you're lucky.
Yeah, why's that?
Because you're still breathing.
Oh.
Ooh, that's good. Oh, man. Now, next up, we have call sign hashtag Ladies Night. John Lestrina. John, how are you?
I'll be honest, Jeff, call sign quick show. I'm a little confused. I mean, we saw Han die, and then
because he's dead.
Yeah,
he died. Yeah, he died in the last one.
Yeah, he died in the last one.
Oh, okay. So it was a flashback. Okay, all right. I'm good. Yeah, he's definitely dead.
What are you talking about? Where was a flashback?
What are you talking about? There was a flashback?
Yeah, in the beginning of the film with Han and Letty and Dom when they're running.
Was that Han? That wasn't Han, was it?
That wasn't Han.
I could have sworn it was a flashback before he went to Tokyo and died and got blown up.
That was somebody else, man.
Yeah, I think that was someone else. Because Han died. Han definitely died.
I know. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that it's probably a flashback to before he got to Tokyo, and this is how he's run nose.
I'm inclined to agree with John that it could be a brief flashback because he's definitely dead now.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Okay.
He's dead.
He's definitely dead right now.
Come back in any future films.
Then again, you also have to remember in contemporary when the movie starts, Dom's on the run still. So why would he be with his whole crew? Why would he be with his whole crew right now? If at the end of the third one, when we know that Han is dead, why is he saying I used to run with Han? That's definitely a flashback. Han's definitely dead.
Probably.
They had to explain that line. Yeah.
You're probably correct.
It was just a fun thing to kind of get us back into the.
They wanted to close a possible plot hole. So, I mean, it's good writing.
Good writing. It may have been. I'm not totally sure that was Han though. So
yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I'll look it up after we're done here.
This series isn't really known for its logic, so it makes sense that maybe there was a mess up on their part. They're not really good with their whole timeline thing. It's kind of funky that way. But
character names, like what up,
any
Bullet,
of that stuff. What up, Bullet, and then never referencing Bullet again.
What up, Bullet?
What up, Bullet? Let me just pull this up real quick. Fast and Furious, the 2009 film. I normally have the information already pulled up.
The one without the thes.
I don't. The one without the thes, which is so. I personally do have an issue with the titles of the films. We had The Fast and the Furious, which is a pretty solid, simple title. Second one, it's a play on it to show that it is a sequel. Too Fast, Too Furious.
But also like TOO. Too fast, like
Too Fast, Too Furious. And it makes sense. And then the third one, they went back to The Fast and the Furious, and then a colon, and then a subtitle, which to me, I've never been the biggest fan of titles that go like, for instance, when you think of like Transformers and you go Transformers, and the next one, instead of Transformers 2, it's Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen. Like, just have your titles consistent. The Pirates of the Caribbean movies knew that from the very beginning. Curse of the Black Pearl, that's the first title. But they're all part of the same franchise. So titles are a little funky, but this time around they're like, fuck it. We know that our titles are silly. Let's just do the same title, but make it a little different. As I said in in the interview 2014 with Seth Rogen and James Franco, different, but same. Different, but same.
I think they knew the titles were going to get even more confusing, so they wanted to just throw you in head first and say, like,
Survive.
This is the most confusing it can get. So it's all uphill from here or downhill, whatever the saying is. You know,
Yeah,
it
because
gets better.
you know that because a lot of people when they talk about stuff, they like to just drop the thes. They're fine with just saying when they talk about Fast and Furious, sometimes they're talking about the original movie, and you have no idea because
sometimes they're talking about the franchise as a whole.
Yeah, and you don't know because if you
Exactly.
say Fast and Furious, technically you're talking about the 9th movie. Because according to the 9th film now, it's called F9, the Fast Saga. So we to refer to them to the whole thing as the Fast Saga, because when you look it up online, it comes up as the Fast and Furious series.
Wow.
So, anyways, just you know, just a little headache.
My brain hurts.
Yeah.
My brain hurts too. Maybe it's just the migraine, but we'll see.
Insert GIF of numbers and shapes on the screen. Yeah.
The hangover Rain Man.
It's simple. It's simple math. I mean, you'll get there. You'll figure it out. I mean, just show your work. Just show your work.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, the movie came out in 2009. Now, after the kind of critical and financial letdown of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, which of course was kind of a given based on when it came out, and it didn't have any of the main stars. Yeah, Vin Diesel showed up in the very last scene, but it wasn't marketed on that. The same director, Justin Lin, same screenwriter, Chris Morgan, they came back and they said, let's get the band back together. And they got most of the band back together. They added a few guys in the first scene, and then those people popped up again at the end. But other than that, this is solely a Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, and Jordana Brewster show. Michelle Rodriguez did show up again as Letty, but as we all know, Letty perished in a cruel car crash murder. She is now dead. Much like Han, she is gone. She's never coming back.
Yeah, she was double killed.
Very sad.
Double killed. She
was in all the marketing.
Blown up, set on fire, also shot point blank.
Murdered.
Murdered.
Like Mia said, Letty's been murdered, Dom.
The 2014 Godzilla film with Bryan Cranston. If you recall, the marketing relied heavily on Bryan Cranston being in that film. And then he died right at the beginning. Yeah, I think that they took a page out of Fast and Furious because the same thing happened with this film, featuring so heavily the return of Michelle Rodriguez too. And then she's dead. She's gone. She's never coming back.
Murdered.
She was as a result of that very dark twist to the canon and what happens to these characters, it does feel like Dom's revenge story does happen to bog the film down a bit in its own darkness. It loses a little bit of the fun that the previous films had. It loses a bit of that light touch. So while it got bigger, it felt a little more hollow. There's still some fun stuff. There's still some cool action. It's definitely getting to that blockbuster feel that we know of it today. But right now it's in this weird sort of like middle ground. The movie had an $85 million budget, so it's the most expensive film to date of them, but it had a huge opening weekend and has made more money than any of the other films at that point. So of course we know a real franchise has kickstarted with this reboot / sequel of the series. But more than anything here, we definitely like to talk about the cars. That's one big thing about the Fast and Furious series, the cars. And when it comes to cars, we like to talk about, single out our favorites. Brandy here. Hey, Brandy, you're one of our favorites. But right now, let's talk about our favorite cars. Zach, which out of all these cars on here, what do you think is the best car? What's your favorite?
Okay, so this movie actually has a shockingly small number of cars in it compared to the first three. The first three, you're talking dozens and dozens of different cars that you could pick from. In this one, there's only a handful. And I think my favorite car is on screen for maybe 2 seconds. And that is the final scene of the movie, Mia's 2003 Acura NSX. Oh, man, what a beautiful car that is. And then Mia driving it, cherry on top. It's beautiful.
Interesting. Not a whole lot to say there. John Campos. I'm hoping that I'm assuming your name is John Campos, and we'll be this whole time.
Campos is Braga. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Campos is Braga.
Whoa, we talked about. Whoa, it was that old guy, right? That clearly was in charge. He was wearing a suit.
Like, dude, oh my god!
Did you wear that pink? Did you wear pink in the barrio?
No,
when you were scrapping your way out of the barrio.
Yeah.
Nah, dude, you could just see the dude's eyes just straight up shifty. He's shifty. Like, dude, you are not a criminal mastermind.
What I'm thinking? This guy named
Braga.
This guy.
He was so like his accountant or bookkeeper or something. Anyway, all right. I've been between two different cars in this movie because, again, as Zach was saying, there's not very many cars, and a lot of them there's nothing that really stands out. But the one I think I'm going to go with is Brian's 2002 Nissan Skyline that unfortunately does get blown up. But it's not flashy. It's more simplified. Doesn't stand out like in the earlier films when all the cars had racing stripes and flashy and everything. This one was more simple. Obviously, very nice car. So that's mine for this film.
Yeah, it's almost identical to a Skyline from Too Fast, Too Furious, except just the solid blue paint instead of the silver and blue paint. Which we all know the silver and blue is the greatest car in the entire franchise. So obviously, this one is pretty great. Also,
well, the 1970 Dodge Charger RT has something to say about that, Zach.
Yeah, third best car in the franchise. I agree.
Third best? You got your damn mind.
Yeah, behind the Supra and the Skyline.
Nah, man, Charger all day.
Fair. So that's your choice, Ferris? Is the Charger?
No, because the Charger.
Well, that car's in this movie. Also.
No, it's in the movie, but it's broken down. It hasn't been fixed up. Mine is the 1970.
No, Brian driving at the end. He drives up at the end in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he drives. Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
No, fuck it. I'm going with the Dodge Charger at the end. If he's going with the Acura, I'm going with the Dodge Charger. Cool with me. Yeah. Hey,
that's fine. I'm going with, because it had served them well in this film, the Subaru Impreza WRX STI hatchback. Now, if you recall, because thanks to the genius move on Dom's part, you turning on the NOS, letting it go, and using the cigarette lighter to blow up all the cars, which was very cool. They blew up the car. They took the H1 Hummer. Brian did say, you blew up my car. I think now you owe me a 10-second car. Yep. And what did he get? He got a fucking Subaru hatchback.
Damn right.
I mean,
it definitely
the WRX STI is a fucking sick car, though. I mean, that is on my list. It's in my top 3. I had the NSX, the Skyline, and the STI.
Well, honestly,
those are my top 3.
Well, the 72 Ford Gran Torino Sport, that one's pretty nice. The one, Phoenix drives.
The green one. Yeah, that was a gorgeous car.
The only problem was there's a problem with that car. It was running nitro meth. There's only a certain type of person.
Looked under the hood? Looked under my hood?
Good job. I know exactly what he's running. I was just going to say...
Pussies run nitro meth.
I got to say, I just found it so funny after the shootout and when then they had to go. And then when Vin had to race off with stuff, he jumps in a fucking Subaru hatchback after all the other cars that we know them to go into. And it's that's the car that they get away in at one point. I'm like, damn, this has to be singled out. Cause I know you guys are going to pull out all the cool cars. This one here, it might not be the coolest car, but it definitely came in the most clutch.
I mean, it's the most true to the franchise up to this point, having it's got all the decals and the fucking paint job. It's the body kit.
Hatchbacks have a very silly shape to them, I think. Overall, they kind of have a reverse Prius shape to them, in my opinion. Where Priuses are a sedan that has it looks like they have a weird bump on their forehead. The way Priuses they have the bump in the back. If you just shifted the bump to the back of the car, that's a hatchback. So I think that they look silly, but it served them well. John,
there's one car that we not mentioned that deserves a very high honorable mention. It was my number 2 in this film.
The Chevy Camaro.
The F-bomb.
The F-bomb. Yeah.
came in clutch. I mean,
Came in
after the tunnel
massive.
scene, Dom jumping into it, and then that's the one that fells T-Bones Phoenix.
The one that cuts Phoenix in half.
Yeah, T-Bones. Yeah.
Pussy.
Torso, legs.
Yeah. But definitely a very, very
now
honorable mention.
Why don't we just jump into it there? Because I want to say, for who we believe the MVP is, to me, I think it's Brian. I think that Dom.
Nah, man, it's Dwight. It's Dwight, bro.
Why do you think it's Dwight?
He wants what Dwight got.
He wants what Dwight's got. American muscle beats import any day. You hear that?
Any day.
Any day.
I did write down the note. Let's get back to Papa Dwight's.
Let's get back to Papa Dwight's.
Let's get back to Papa Dwight's.
Yo, man, you arrested me. Arrested me on the distribution of meth. Meth. Dwight's never touched that shit. Dwight has now.
Yeah.
Wait,
that's not your stick, right?
You are
it's not
currently
supposed
quoting. You are currently quoting. That is a separate section of the show.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep these
I
cars
love
on
Dwight.
the road.
I love Dwight so much.
Dwight is great. Dwight, however, I do not think is the most valuable player. He is just a
He's
fun
not.
comedic.
He's not. Yeah, he's not.
Papa Dwight. You can't call him just Dwight. He is
It's Papa Dwight.
and he does talk in the third person.
Hey man, also
especially to federal officers.
Yo, he loves feet. Yo, show them feet.
He loves.
show you them feet.
He is a Quentin Tarantino.
Yo, Tarantino looks at Dwight and says, "Yo, you need to calm down."
Yeah. No, I think it's Brian because Brian was able to use his connections as an FBI officer to both even though they wanted him to bring in Dom, he used it in order to continue to kind of lengthen the time that Dom is able to not be apprehended, and to utilize Dom in order to get to Braga, while also helping Dom get revenge without it actually impacting the FBI's duties of trying to apprehend Braga. In the end, FBI still also gets Dom, so he did his job. He did his job all the way through. He knew when not to take shit from fucking Shea Wiggum, whatever his character. What is it, Stan Wiggum? Is that it? Stasiak beating the shit out of him in the office there. That was a class.
Hey, he hit me first.
Stasiak deserved it.
This isn't the Boy
Clean
Scouts.
yourself up. Yeah, this isn't the Cub Scouts.
Bleeding on my floor.
You're bleeding on my floor. Yeah. So I think it's definitely Brian. He was able to make amends while also proving that he was able to work with Letty in order to help Dom. The whole time that Letty was doing this, it was to help Dom. Brian was Dom all the way through, even before the movie even started. All the way at the end, when he decided to say, fuck it. And just like he did in the first movie, it ends with him abdicating his position as a law enforcement representative in order to help get Dom out of a bad predicament. That's why I go with Brian. Right. Ferris, I know that you were like chomping at the bit to talk about Dwight, but who's your actual choice?
My actual guy. It's a 2-for-1 special.
It's Dwight.
It is Dwight. I'm kidding. I wish it was Dwight. No, it's Tego and Santos. You call them up. You need an extra car, man. You call Tego and Santos. They help break Dom out of prison. They help Dom steal the oil. They're always there. They're going to be big later on. Tego and Santos, the homies.
Did they even help steal any oil? Did they?
Yes, they
didn't
did.
they have to
Yes,
get?
they did.
Did they get one of the barrels?
Yes, they did. They got two of the barrels.
I couldn't remember if they get broken off or whether the last barrel gets broken off.
It felt like they were just kind of there.
Well, dude, they one-shotted that hitch.
Yeah, they one-shotted that hitch.
They did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Zach?
I think there's a pretty clear-cut MVP here, and that's Letty. Letty literally sacrificed herself to bring the family back together. Okay? And I mean, that's the greatest gift to the franchise, to Dom, to Brian, to Mia, all of our favorite people. She was the one that made the determination, this life on the run, this criminal lifestyle where they're all separate. It's just not the life for them. They got to bring the family back. And unfortunately, she paid the ultimate price for that when she was murdered. and burned alive, or maybe she was already dead because she had been murdered. But so yeah, I think it's got to be Letty. I was thinking Brian originally also because he kind of like, he was helping Letty, but also he got Letty killed in a way, but by putting her into Braga's circle. So I was thinking like it can't really be Brian. I don't think it can be Dom because Dom he's just
kind of like fucked up a lot in this movie.
Yeah, and he's just kind of like a reckless criminal at this point. Like he
was just blinded by revenge.
Yes.
So I think Letty did the most, and she also put the most on the line. So
agreed. John.
Okay. My initial thought, I think there you could maybe argue Dominic Toretto, but I agree. And when you think about it, he gets too reckless at some points. I mean, he goes up to Brian. He's just full of rage, and he's a loose cannon, as we've seen in the original Fast and Furious film, where he just, I never knock on nobody, but I mean, he'll shit out somebody. So, I think the MVP of this film is Gisele. Who do they call to locate where Braga is? They call Gisele. She answers the call. She gives them the location. Now, you might say, well, I mean, maybe it's because Dominic saved her. Maybe. But Gisele came through in the end when they needed her the most, and they need someone. Because she could have easily have been killed.
Hey, let me ask you something about Gisele. So she works for Braga. Like, literally, she's his right-hand woman. She knew they were all going to get killed. After she had already had that sort of intimate conversation with Dom, she went to the meetup knowing that they were going to get killed. Why does Dom save her? Why does he care about her at all?
She sees something.
She's a bad person. She is a bad person. A very bad person.
I think that it would have been more interesting, and obviously, it's hard to really break it down knowing parts of the way the series goes. I mean, like, we know for sure that Hannah's dead. We know Letty's dead. We know that the rest of them are going to break Vin out. Like, these are all constants, and they are 100% guaranteed. Nothing is going to change from that statement. But
she is a part of my favorite exchange. It's hilarious.
Taking that out of the equation.
Don't say it. It might be one of my quotes.
It feels like, to the narrative of the story, seeing that Campos ended up actually being Braga, I feel like it would have been more interesting and maybe more fun. Yeah, for a 12-year-old movie. More fun if it turned out that she was Braga. If Braga was actually her.
Man, that would have been crazy.
I've been wild.
Because it still would have had the bad guy there all along, like it was with Campos. But Campos could have still been just John Ortiz with that shit-eating grin that he's so good at, and she could have been the one swooning them along and kind of tricking them along the way. And I don't know. Obviously, that's not how it played, and she ended up kind of like working with them down the line. But I still think that it's an interesting idea. I get what you're saying, John. I also agree with Zach, though. I think she is just a genuinely bad person here. And also she was hot for Dom, and Dom was like, "Nah, whoa,
don't say anything. Don't say it.
I was just gonna say. All I was gonna say is, "Nah, you're not Letty."
My favorite quote.
I wasn't gonna quote anything. I was just gonna say, "Nah, you're not Letty." So
I mean, keep in mind that this entire franchise is built on criminals.
Yeah,
it is all definitely built on criminals, but it's about
they are
these
all
criminals.
Though, that's true.
They're all criminals. But it's
Tej
about which criminals work with.
Tej is not a criminal.
He's an illegal gambling ring. What are you talking about?
Tej is super criminal. He is absolutely.
Nah, man, we all.
But they're good criminals in the end.
He doesn't.
We all bet, man. It's like what? Like, you don't bet on, who doesn't bet on a
what?
jet ski race?
He's committing like felony fraud.
Yeah,
about?
he everything he does with his whole operation is illegal.
You think he's paying taxes on that gambling ring? What are you
pay
talking
taxes?
about?
Do you pay taxes when you go to poker night with your friends?
I don't go to poker night with my friends, and we're exchanging like $100. We're exchanging like $100.
I'm not going to pay fucking taxes on losing $10 when we only put $20 in a person.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Come on, Ferris.
I'm just saying.
Being
It's not the same
disingenuous.
thing as don't worry, man. Whoever wins gets $7,000.
Yeah.
You know what? You got a
doesn't
point.
work.
Hey, what do you say we
Yeah.
kick it a nickel?
Let's kick it a nickel. Yeah, you know what? Good point. Good point.
All right. Anyways,
Wrong movie.
so let speaking of kicking it a nickel, let's start with some quotes. And John, we're gonna start with you with some of your
All
favorite
right.
stuff that you got going on.
Okay, I mean, this obviously, I mean, we've talked about this before. The first two films have the best quotes, but this one has some good ones. One of my favorite ones is, of course, in the tryout race when Brian is trying to play catch up, and he says, "Sorry, car." And then goes
I thought
downstairs.
about putting that one down.
That one always gets a chuckle out of me. And I had where
Sorry,
oh,
car.
and then at the end, I mean, obviously, when Brian is getting there, waiting for the emergency vehicles to come and everything, and he's like, "Hey, man, I gotta ask you a question." And he says to Dom, I would on the race if you didn't cheat, right? And then Dom's just like, you hit your head hard, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Again, going back to that race, Brian still trying to wants to win and wants to prove himself to Big Dom. But I will now open the gentleman, not hog all the great quotes.
Yeah. Zach.
So
What's your number one?
I think the best quote in the movie. It's actually it's an exchange between two people. So it's when Dom is in the garage at Braga's club or wherever they're at, and Gisele comes down and they're talking about the cars, and she says, "Okay, so that's how you like your cars, but what about your women?" And he goes on to describe his woman, 20% angel, 80% devil, not afraid to get grease under their fingernails or whatever the quote is. And Gisele says, that doesn't sound anything like me, like clearly very disappointed or confused by what he's saying. And he just looks at her and says, "It ain't," and then walks away. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this guy, what is he doing?
She looks so sad.
Yeah, she is heartbroken.
So
she is
sad.
she is just absolutely DTF right there. And he's just like, "Nah, I'm good." And it's wild. And then I think my second favorite, it's a little bit under the radar, but it's just a confusing quote from like an administrative level, which is Sophie, the FBI agent who's working with Brian. They're looking at all the cars, and she says, "So which car do you want?" And he kind of chuckles to himself, and he says, "All of them."
All of them.
So the question is, what's the follow-up to that scene? Which is because clearly, like, you can only drive one car at a time, Brian. So I don't understand your answer. Do you like?
You only used one.
Could you
car.
please pick one? Like,
Yeah.
is this dealer's choice? Is Sophie just supposed to be like, "Okay, I guess I'll have him pull up the skyline"? I think he likes that, I guess. So anyways, that one always makes me chuckle because I imagine her follow-up question.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, I see where you're going from.
Yeah.
No.
When in reality, the scene we
that
saw of him,
exact same
playing,
thing.
pulling everything. Yeah.
That went through my head earlier when I was watching. I'm just thinking, like maybe it's because we are adults and we think about things from like a financial and like a professional perspective of just which car do you want? And he says, "I want all of them." All right. How does that work? You're the only one driving. So what does that mean?
Exactly.
And
like,
then,
okay, I'll have them pull them all out, but like, which one are you actually going to take though? Because we're going to have to like do the paperwork and fill that out. So if you could just tell me which one, I'd appreciate it.
So that's why, and 2 years before that, 2 years before this came out, Hot Fuzz came out, which Edgar Wright did a brilliant job, kind of riffing on action films. And one of the things that they did so well that you don't ever see in other action films was after everything that happens, after all the action, after all the mayhem, what happens next? The paperwork and the menial office job that goes with it. It's not all action. And that's exactly what runs into my head now. Whenever dumb action movies do that, I just think, man, just imagine all of the administrative work that goes along with it. So I think
my pen's run out of ink.
Like permanently.
No problem.
Yeah, I think that Edgar Wright definitely just totally messed with how I can watch an action movie, because I have to think about these real life issues. And Fast and Furious does not take place in the real world. We know that based off of entries down the line. with Cyborg, Idris Elba, and whatnot.
I thought this was a documentary series.
I mean, it started out that way, but
Oh, okay.
It started out that way.
We're drifting.
Literally.
Hey, doing the Leo. What are some of your favorite things?
Some of my favorite quotes. The two of them happen in the span of the first race, where Dom hits the Nas, right, and then Brian's like, ha 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 ha, too soon, Dom. Then he hits the Nas, right, and he's like neck and neck, and he's like going in front of Dom. Then he hits him. And then all you hear is Brian say, no, and then Dom is like, still a buster. Yeah.
So good.
And then he wins the race, right? And then Brian gets out of the car pissed off because he wanted to race him. He's like, see, I never knew you would beat me straight up, huh? He's like, oh, I didn't know there were rules.
Yeah.
And
then also Phoenix says, that's a real racer. And then Brian says, no, that's bullshit,
man. He's like, yeah, go cry to your mama. You know what I mean?
Quick about that, just so we're talking about that scene. There's no way they let Brian leave like alive. If they're killing racers who finish the job, there's no way the people who finish the trials, they let them leave alive. There's no way.
Yeah.
well, no, they're just racing. They're street racers, so they don't know what the hell they're doing yet. They don't know what they're transporting heroin.
But they've been introduced to the players.
They know that they're trying to get a job with Braga.
Yeah, I know. But, criminals are
criminals. They met Gisele. They met Phoenix. I mean, it's like the whole inside circle right there.
But yeah, here's the other thing. It's like when they're like standing waiting for Braga, and like Brian's like, good news. If we catch this man, you're going to be a free man. The Dom's like, oh, is that what they told you? Yeah, that's the deal. He's like, do you still put milk and cookies out for Santa Claus? He's like, you're so naive, you dumbass. Then my favorite quote is when he drives the F-bomb into Phoenix's body and then says, pussy. Yeah.
By the way,
only pussies run nitro meth.
Yeah.
That goes back. That goes back
aggressive.
to why Brian. That goes back to why Brian is the MVP. He wouldn't have been able to crush Phoenix in such a way. Phoenix might have actually gotten out of that crash alive if Brian
grabbed his ankle
on the ground, bleeding and injured, didn't just grab and hold on to him, knowing because they set it up earlier in the movie that Dom was able to start a race up on the hind wheels, like on the back wheels. So he knew it could. He knew they were simpatico. He knew that all he had to do was hold him in place because all that mattered was the car hitting the top half. So that just building off there. We kind of went over my favorite quotes because there weren't as many in this film. There was everything about Dwight. Let's get back to Papa Dwight's. The whole thing is like Dwight never touched that shit.
No, my favorite thing is Dwight's like, Papa Dwight wants you to take off your shoes. Dwight loves feet.
That's never gonna stick. It's not supposed to.
It's supposed to.
Oh man, got picked up by cops the same day that he got the job.
This one has a similar case of people just openly talking about how they are undercover
corrupt
inside of the person who they are tracking's place of business. It's very strange. Just like
Braga's mind. Again, you're in. He just literally just left you.
He's 6 feet away right now.
Come on, dude.
Another one was I wrote down. Brian looks so happy to look at all the cars and choose which one do you want. I want all of them.
Oh yeah.
And then of course, my number one favorite was this isn't the Cub Scouts. Now go on. You're bleeding on my floor. Which was in relation to, he came up to yell at Brian, and Brian fucking decks him and smashes his face in the wall. And then they blame him for yelling. It's like, it reminds me of when Dick Cheney shot that guy in the face while hunting, and then the guy who got shot apologized.
Yeah. That shit was hilarious. Now, you know what? Staziak's kind of a dick, man. There was that one time where he was like, where Brian's like, David Park. He's like, that's all you got? A name? David Park. I could throw a fortune cookie outside and hit 50 David Parks. And then the other agent's like, it's Korean, not Chinese. Y'all racist.
Yeah, racist.
So Stasiak deserved that shit. Stasiak deserves
Stasiak's a piece of shit. He fucks up all
piece of
throughout
shit.
the movie.
Yeah,
I love Shea Wiggum.
We have to go.
I
We have
love
to
Shea
go,
Wiggum.
command. Like, what? No, you didn't. You gotta wait.
Shea
Yeah,
Wiggum is a
wait
Wait for the
great
fucking
actor.
photo.
Yeah, Shea Wiggum's a great actor. He's done some great work. He gave the proper amount of douchebag, hot-headed agent that doesn't like the Maverick guy. What's so funny is how they have Brian working on this stuff, and it's like, all right, Brian, you're up because you're gonna go race more cars. That's why we have you in the FBI. And there's Stasiak in the background, fucking annoyed that this young guy just gets to go out there and be tasked with like driving cars, and it's obvious how much he hates it. But yeah, those are like the main quotes.
I also have another one.
I had, and the pussy.
I have another one.
I have one. It's like when they're in Mexico, right? When they're in Mexico, and Brian's like, "This is where my jurisdiction ends," and the Dom's like, "This is where mine begins."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the exchange also where Dom is yelling at Phoenix and he's like, "Hey, boss man," and he's like, "What'd you say?" And he's like, "Only pussies run nitro meth." And he just yells, "You looked under my hood?"
My hood?
Which is also a hilarious reaction. Again, like some of these quotes, I love them so much because of how inappropriate they are in the situation. Like, he's like, you guys are about to kill each other, potentially, and he just called you a pussy, but your biggest concern is that he looked under your hood. So, like, he knows what you're driving. As if that's like the most top secret thing on earth, not the fact that some other guy is walking towards you, calling you a pussy, and wants to kill you.
I have another one I like,
but I love it.
I have another one that I like. When Dom said $6 million, and it has to be given by Braga himself, and then he's like, "Can't do that," and he says, "I don't like to be shot."
Shot at.
I don't like to be. It's like I don't like to be shot at. And it's just like, well, in my head, I'm like, well, who does?
No one does.
Who would be like, yes?
That tracks.
Who does want to be shot at? Certainly not Letty. We know what happened when she got shot.
No.
She died, and she's not coming back.
Exactly. But Zach brought up an exchange between Gisele and Dom. My favorite exchange is with Braga, Brian, and Dom, where he's like, "Do you know each other?" "He used to date my sister."
Dated my sister.
"I see. You're a lucky man." "Brian, how was that?" "You're still breathing."
Still breathing. That was a good one too.
That was
a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was very obvious that they weren't even
trying. No, because some of these quotes are just like menacing. They're just straight up menacing and straight up like in your face, like straight up. Homie just straight up called him a pussy, and the other person like threatened to kill him. And then the other one was like, "Yeah, you ain't my type. Like you ain't my type. Like move on."
Yeah.
Yeah, I got like one more little exchange with Dominic and Brian when Dom was working on his car and in the garage, and Brian sees it and says, "Oh, it's nice to see you've gone with time to switch to electronic fuel injection. Looks good." And Dom's like, "Must have became a gearhead." And then Brian leaves to go make out with Mia. But again,
he decided to make love to Mia. They weren't making out.
Yeah.
They only
show him making out on
screen.
I mean, he was just consoling her, and then they were just kissing. I mean, they're waiting till they get married. I mean, they're waiting for.
Have you seen the Fast and the Furious?
Yeah.
They had just their clothes. I mean, they were having a water gun balloon fight, and they got wet, so they had to get under the covers to
by the way,
stay dry. They're waiting until they get married.
I do want to establish I think we talked about this a couple, back with Too Fast, Too Furious. We were trying to discuss the timeline of the films, and I think that it was determined that both the first one and the second one take place about 6 months apart in the year 2002. So they mentioned in this film that it's been 5 years. So now we're looking at 2007.
I thought it was like 2004.
No, it's 2004. So what happens is Letty's gravestone says 2009. Then she says it's been 5 years since you pulled that shit. So technically, it's 2004 is when the main movie starts.
That's it. My bad. I mixed it up because 2002 was in between the first film and the second film.
But it's also clearly in the future because the GPS that they have is very futuristic.
very futuristic, and also very annoying.
A few years later, they would have this technology in Tokyo. I would hope. We'll have to find out, though.
Yes,
we'll have to
find
out.
For sure.
Yeah. Definitely have to find out. But yeah, if that makes sense. They tried to bring the fact that between the first the first film and the new one, there was an 8-year difference between 2001 to 2009. How do they close that gap? Well, they say it's 5 years, and then we just have to be like, all right. And if they say 2009 in the gravestone, then that must mean that the first one took place then, and everyone else didn't bother to like update anything. So
yeah, hey man, we also forget, man. You know how high tech Tokyo was? Is they were streaming the race through everybody's phones, so that was technology
to mention. That's something I forgot to mention.
It
wasn't just on their flip phones, and it wasn't just that. By the way, they were all watching, but it was like individual flip phones, and that's like they're able to cut from source to source to source. Forgot to mention that before. Knowing how technology works with flip phones, that definitely bugged me a little bit. But hey, that's what happens when you got razors.
Another thing we haven't really talked about because it just hasn't come up, but Mia is in this movie, which is great.
Yes.
Mia's
in this movie.
Mia's great.
I thought
S tier character.
I thought maybe she, like when I saw that she went in there and helped patch up the bullet wound, I thought, oh, she's coming in, she's helping them, she's the reason why they're able to kind of get around. I was thinking, could she be the MVP? And then she didn't really do anything until the very final scene where she was just kind of driving up. So she ended up not really making a big impact in this movie, other than I guess being sad a bit. But then again, the general mood of this movie, like I said, was a little bit more of a downer film in the series. Like there's still some good stuff in it. It's just it's not as fun or as exciting as it could have been. But you know what is exciting? Some stunts. Isn't that right? Oh, there you go. You're here. Yeah. Some stunts. And the stunts, some of them very fun. It's obvious from how from how this film kind of showed us right from the get-go. This is a bigger movie. This series is not the same as it was when it was about drag racers on the streets of LA. This is quickly evolving into much bigger crime action like landscape. So, Ferris, what do you think might be like your favorite stunt sequence?
It was the second tunnel sequence where everybody's in the tunnel. Instead of like how the first tunnel, everyone was in a line just following each other. This tunnel sequence, everyone's trying to kill Dom and Brian. So they're hitting each other. They're like trying to destroy the tunnel in the process. And then there's this little sequence within the sequence where Dominic destroys his Chevelle's door, throws it out, and then like throws the Chevelle into like a dead end, jumps into the F-bomb, punches the dude, throws the dude out of the Chevelle, out of the F-bomb, drives the F-bomb away. Then the cars crush that dude, and then they all die underneath a blaze of fire because of Dominic's car, the Charger, that ran into the dead end, exploded, and then it killed everybody. And then proceeds to the F-bomb, then straight kills, darts Phoenix right in the body.
Guillotine.
Yes.
It was pretty sick, especially the one guy when his car went sideways right in the fork in the tunnel, and it just like he just literally just wrapped around it, and it's like
and then, like the one dude like that's chilling there that they cut away from. Obviously, he gets
Then there's also that one at the beginning scenes where Phoenix, his car T-bones the Subaru, and then the Subaru flies and then tumbles. Yeah, it's pretty dope.
My favorite sequence, and I think it was just because it was how I have two as well. One of them was the intro, because we definitely we hadn't seen anything like this before. The closest was in the first movie where what was it, Lance or Vince? I forget his name. Vince. I'm mixing up
where
names.
He's on the side of the truck.
Where he's just hanging and his arms getting all fucked up.
Vince.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's the closest we have to like a truck in a sequence like this. But this time around, like the whole heist thing. But then on top of that, the specifically the point in which they're sitting there waiting, and the oil truck is barreling towards them, rolling over and over and over. And she's like, Dom, you got to go. And then he decides to just drive forward right at it, knowing the exact moment when it's going to flip over, and he'll slide right under. And then
man.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he knows physics.
You're
right. His mind powers in this movie elevated.
Dr. Dominic Toretto,
yes,
physicist. That's exactly it.
He's a physicist.
Yes.
He's a physicist. He's as much of a physicist as Letty is dead, which is to say he's definitely a physicist.
Yeah,
Exactly.
100%. Hey, so since you mentioned that scene, I want to say something that I noticed. I watched this movie again last night. And it is. And actually, this exact scene, this moment is what I want to talk about, which is it's kind of undercut because the driver of the vehicle is able to just jump out of the truck and just tuck and roll. And I guess he's fine. I'm assuming he's fine. Which leads me to believe that Letty could have just done the same thing. She could have just jumped off the side and rolled to safety. But, that's not as fun. But it was something I noticed when I was watching last night. I was like, wait a second. Why didn't she just hop onto the dirt on the side of the road there?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
It's best not to think about that stuff.
My other favorite sequence was they did the whole thing of, all right, now who's going to be the racer for me, the big bad kingpin. You all have to do this test. And then comes another line. It's like, all right, so like who's closing down the streets? No one. Like the streets weren't. That's the point. There were no street closures. So that whole sequence, they had to do the same shit they do that they've had to done in the last couple movies, but there were no street closures. I thought that was a fun twist on trying to like get through that of you have to do it, but everyone's still on the road at the same time.
Yeah, that sequence was very.
How does my ass look, Chia Pet? Ghetto Smurf.
Hold on, that sequence is very reminiscent of the final sequence from Tokyo Drift, where they're just like driving through the city and they're dodging people and stuff like that.
It makes sense. It's the same director, so he probably wanted to be like, how can I make this even bigger or crazier?
Yeah.
So, John.
So I have a couple. They're sort of similar. They don't involve cars. One is the introduction of Brian to the film when he's chasing down the suspect through all the apartment complexes, and then where the guy, the perp, he's waiting for him, and then Brian just jumps out of nowhere through a window and tackles him to bring him into custody to get a name out of him. And then
Brian attempts to commit suicide.
Yeah. But because he has superhero tendencies, he's okay.
He landed on the car instead of just head first into the concrete, which was nice.
Another one, it's more when Dom finds out that Brian was running Letty, and then they had a fist fight. But it's more I like about the scene is that Brian is just trying to calm him down. Mia's obviously yelling too to tell him to stop, but Brian's just going all defensive while Dom's just pounding on him. And then finally, Brian gets Dom in like the choke, and he finally stops. And I think it's cool, like where their headspaces are, like, and how it describes how Dom is. He's a loose cannon. At this point, he's a loose cannon. Brian's more like, yo, dude, man, like, just listen to me, kind of stop, kind of thing. It's sort of.
She did it for you, Dom.
Yeah, Brian
just wanted you to come home.
Really, still trying to decide because he's not fighting back. He's still like, we're buddies, we're family, we're brothers. Like, I don't want to fight you, just listen to me, kind of thing. And Dom's just not wanting to listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm sorry, Dom. I'm sorry.
Zach, I know you started talking. You mentioned a bit, but it was more so a jokey thing. What's your favorite, sequence or sequences?
I mean, I think my favorite sequence is when they're in the daytime heading towards the tunnel, driving through the desert, and it's straight up Mad Max Fury Road before Mad Max Fury Road. I mean, there's cars flipping, there's people up on gunners. It's honestly very reminiscent. They're doing like a little flying V drive. I think that sequence is where you're most sort of demonstrating that this is just like full-blown action movies now. Because again, you've got, I think you can tell how much of an action movie it is by how many guns are fired throughout the movie, which there's lots of them. And previously, if somebody fired a gun, it was kind of like a big moment, either, you know, Johnny Tran killing somebody or
R.I.P. Jesse.
Yeah, rest in peace, Jesse. 100% dead also. But then this one is just like, you know, there's a shootout when they're supposed to be getting Braga. There's a shootout in the final sequence. It's just guns all over the place in this one. But the sequence where they're all driving, it's coordinated driving, coordinated stunt driving. I think any of those coordinated pieces are really impressive, especially one like this where, you know, the tunnel sequence is a lot of fun, but a lot of that can be shot sort of like 1 or 2 cars at a time. Whereas, you know, this sequence, you can see, you know, 9, 10, 11 cars. And they've even got some of those like,
are we talking
like
about
those like Baja cars that are like jumping
Yeah.
over stuff, and like it's just
Oh,
very
that's- okay,
dynamic.
gotcha.
It's just
Yeah, gotcha.
incredibly dynamic. And then then they get out onto the desert, and it's very reminiscent.
Yeah, because they
Mad
have an
Max.
extensive driving stunt team. Because Debbie Evans, who was on Action Movie Anatomy, talked about how like their action squad is very extensive in the vehicle department. Like there's not a lot of stunt bodies, but there's a lot of stunt drivers and stuff. Like she was one of their main drivers. She drove the cars and the motorcycles. You know, she has multiple Taurus awards because of stunt action work. So yeah, I think this movie started the whole. We're doing most of this practical thing, and we're using a lot of like actual stunt drivers, like Debbie Evans and stuff. So that was pretty awesome. You know, and then they have the guns out of the window, which is dope.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're starting to come to the end there. Hey, what up, fam? How you doing, Austin? But, you know, normally, your least favorite movie of the franchise.
Hey, Austin, what type of people run nitrous meth?
Nitro meth.
Nitro meth.
Yo, you looked under my hood?
Pussies.
Yeah,
so,
pussies.
Exactly, Jeff.
Only pussies.
So, but now we come to the big question. Is this a superhero franchise yet? Ferris, you want to go first?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Let me tell you why it is. All right. Ooh. Our main characters have gained super strength, and some of them got in like Superman skin and you know what? Okay, let's bring it up. All right. Dominic Toretto gets shot. He gets shot right in the shoulder, right here. Mia's like, all right, I'll stitch you up. And then she says, the bullet's not here. You know why the bullet's not there, Mia? Because the bullet just dinged off of him, scratched him, then popped. And then guess what? And then Dominic Toretto then force projected himself into the past to see the car crash. So he force projected himself and saw the entire car crash relived in front of him. All right. Then Brian is very strong because he tackles the dude. And then they smash into the car, right? But Brian just gets right back up. Like nothing's wrong with him. Pulls out his gun and shoves it in his face. It says, give me a name. Give me a goddamn name. Nothing's hurt. He's all right. Brian then proceeds to get stabbed at the end, but he's good. Brian then also gets T-boned in the Subaru Impreza, and it flips and flips and flips and flips, and he's still alive. These are superheroes.
So I was going to say not yet, but we're getting closer. Because yes, with Vin Diesel, you didn't mention when he got shot, he just turned around as if it was fucking nothing.
Exactly.
And just beat the hell out of people. And he's walking around bleeding as if it's nothing. Like it doesn't show that it's like adrenaline. It's just him. And of course, one of the funny things was when he got patched up, they said, oh, it's going to hurt. And he's like, oh, you're going to enjoy this. And then we don't see him actually in pain because probably because in Vin Diesel's contract that we're not supposed to see him in pain.
No pain, no gain.
But Brian, on the other hand, yes, at the beginning he did that jump through the window and everything. And yeah, he survived the car flipping, but also it's a Subaru. It's a Subaru. It's built to try to keep people safe inside. And it's also a Subaru hatchback. It's there to try to keep families safe.
That's right.
And when he gets out, yes, he is alive, but he also looks terrible. He can't stand up. You could hear him when he gets out of the car. He is wheezing because he probably has a punctured lung.
You know what? Using Brian as an example is a bad example. Just Vin Diesel. Diesel has gained superpowers.
You see him in the court scene. He's perfectly fine. He's got an arm around Mia. He's perfectly fine. He's needed a few minutes to recover.
Exactly. He's like
Flash.
Wolverine.
He's healing. Yeah. Super healing.
It's obvious that one thing this film doesn't do is do a good job showing lapses of time, because between this event and when the actual sentencing would occur for a prisoner of Dom's stature, that would be a while. So no doubt he probably recuperated in the, especially if he was trying to work in Dom's favor, they probably needed him to recuperate in order to be able to properly testify. So we missed out on the entire trial. So I think that time had lapsed. I get what you're saying. I think that we are getting there. Dom is a very good example of it but we also have to remember that Dom was only a little beaten up when his own car was crumpled to like pulp in the first film at the end. Right.
He's a superhero.
This one here, it's him getting family shot is the only bulletproof vest I need. And yeah, you know what? You know who wears family on his sleeve? Dom.
I was gonna say that's pretty morbid. You sacrifice your family, turn them into human shields for you.
Yeah,
sick.
That's I mean, you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Dude. Fuck that.
But there. So I think it's not there yet. But once again, we're getting closer to it. It's obvious that some of them have some latent superhero abilities when it comes to how to operate machinery and vehicles. But I don't think it translates to a fully fledged superhero globetrotting series yet. John, what do you think?
I agree with Ferris. He took every word out of my mouth. I fully support Ferris's statements, and would add to Don Machado holding onto like one engine, like in one hand while just hovering, makes it stop right before it's gonna crush the dude's face. He's holding on to it with one arm. That's super strength and super time.
Now, when you say that you fully support 100% and you're behind everything that Ferris says, are you behind everything he said about Brian, including when he said actually Brian's a bad example?
I think Ferris misspoke. Ferris,
I did.
Brian, he's not quite as powerful as Don Machado.
He has that Wolverine thing where like he heals.
Oh yeah, it takes time. It's like maybe he doesn't have the superheroes, the super serum, but he has a form of it, so it may take him a little time to recover.
Actually, I haven't gotten a haircut. I haven't gotten a haircut in like 2 months.
We'll get one.
I'll get one.
Okay.
God damn, you gotta be very forceful, don't you?
Yeah, we did lose another member of the family in this film. R.I.P. Letty.
Yeah.
Dead for sure, 100%.
Yes.
Zach,
murdered.
Zach, you gave a shocked face, but I also know that when it came to outside the box, you did cite in, I think it was Too Fast, Too Furious, the electric claws and what they do. So has this pushed it forward? Have we gotten into that territory yet?
So I'm going to say no. This is not a superhero franchise yet, but I would say we are very much superhero adjacent right now, for some of the reasons that John and Ferris already mentioned, and even something they didn't mention, when Brian tackles that guy off of the roof in the opening sequence, he somehow gets from the window across the entirety of the flat roof and then off of there in one single motion. So I don't know. He obviously couldn't run through the window. He had to jump through the window. So does that mean he dove like, I don't know, 18 feet or something like that to get all the way across there with that sort of power? He survived, obviously. Somehow, maybe he had the sense that car was going to be there that he could land softly onto. So, yes, we're starting to display some sort of superhuman abilities, if you will, but they're not like fully fleshed out. They're just kind of little hints of it right now, I think. And then, yes, we do get the introduction of some very sort of clearly fake technology with the GPS and how all that works, where we're getting into sort of that. And then there's also the hypest moment of the series so far, which acts very similar to the way post-credit scenes work now, where we see Brian and Mia and the crew riding up to get Dom off that prison transfer bus. So that element, obviously this is 2009, so it actually doesn't predate post-credit scenes, even though the Fast and Furious did it first. But either way, it has that. Yeah, I think it does too. It's also not a post-credit scene, but it is sort of like a epilogue, if you will, where they're teasing up the next one, which is very much now we consider to be sort of a classic staple of the superhero genre. So not quite there yet, but getting very close. I think close. We need
about one more entry before we can officially start to enter that whole thing. I mean,
yeah, I think
there are things in the trailer for F9 that are more super heroic than there are in this.
The magnet plane.
All of that shit.
Yeah,
so I mean, I think that this is towing the line, or it's dipping its toe in the water, but it has to cross that moat. It has to get over that bridge to get in there. And I think that Fast 5 is probably going to be the bridge that brings them into probably. And this is obviously, it's been years since I watched them. My belief is that Fast and Furious 6 will be where it's going to land in official superhero territory. But I'll have to rewatch Fast 5 in order to see how I truly feel about it.
I would say this one, they're kind of like testing the waters, right? They're trying to gauge sort of fan reaction. Like, okay, let's just do a couple of things where these people do some sort of superhuman type stuff, and we'll just see how people react to it. And if people are critical of it and they're like, what the fuck is going on? Why did this guy just withstand a bullet shot or do whatever else? Maybe they pull it back. But as we heard from the box office portion of the show earlier, this movie was very successful on that front. So I think they knew that was the green light to keep pushing it that direction.
Yep. And as a result, the large box office success and cliffhanger ending, which, if this ended, it would have been a very fun kind of just way to end it, of like, these guys are never really down and out. Even when they're in custody, they're never down. But it's definitely leading into where it gets bigger and, to most people, better. Because I do think that as big as the movie is, as I said, the lack of I guess lightness to it. It wasn't the lack of joy in the film, of having fun with it, I think weighed it down and made it feel a little more hollow. And in the grand scheme of the series, it does feel like it is mostly a bridge, a piece of connective tissue needed to get us to the vision that they really had for these series. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Next week, on April 1st, we're going to have a very big show. We're going to have all of us here, and we're also going to have a few guests joining us. And so we're probably going to have like 7 people. Yeah, we're going to have like 7 people talking about Fast 5. Yep, that's it.
Man. I also want to point out, this has the best villain out of all 8 of them.
Fast 5 or Furious?
Fast and Furious has the best villain out of all. Yeah, Braga's
very underrated villain. Yeah, I agree.
The best
I think in the annals of villains, I think that he's a fine villain. I don't think he's like, I don't think that he's necessarily very like extraordinary, but also for the most part,
Carter Verone's the man.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the super white guy playing an Argentinian?
Yeah, Argentinian. Him and his pants and that silk black shirt.
Gosh, dude.
Hey, show him some respect. It was his birthday the other day. All right.
Yeah. Hey man, you know what's crazy too? He's actually done he did the second most heinous thing in the entire series. He let a rat eat a man's body. That's
I really think that you're not giving enough credit to DK and also his uncle. His uncle running the Yakuza. I think that's low key one of the best villains in the films in the series. And we didn't even get to see him. All we saw was how intimidating he could be.
Shout out to Sonny Chiba.
Sonny Chiba,
the man.
Wait, we got a big group. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Keep it a surprise.
I'm not gonna mention the names because who knows? What if someone drops out? Hopefully, no one does. But a lot of things can happen in a week, so we'll see. But until then, oh man, Matt, I'm so sorry. As soon as this comes up on the here, where is this? Come on. Pop up in the comments there. Says here, few still made it. Love you, Ferris. You the man. That's Matt Thomas from Spin from the Reel. I'm assuming he's the one commenting. Here we go. Took forever. Few still made it.
Yeah, Matt, we're heading out. We're heading out.
Yeah. You made it just. You made it for us to be able to.
Yeah.
Tell you goodbye. You made it just enough to tell you goodbye.
We were just teasing that we were going to have some good personalities on joining us next week for Fast 5. We got a handful of guys, and we'll make sure that we have all those names pinned down, and then we'll make sure to tag them in the tweets and posts when we actually have the show come out. So until then, John, where can people find you?
Right here next week, same time, same channel, and also reminder: April 4th, the Fast and Furious Knockout Circuit Trivia. Ferris and I are going to be doing it. It's unsanctioned. Still looking for people, so if you're interested. If you go on Twitter, at Kyle Gerbrandt, he's still taking people to sign up. Yeah, at Kyle Gerbrandt. Unsanctioned, free for all style, but I think right now there's only a handful of people in it, so it might just be like Iron Man kind of style, but definitely more people welcome. Should be a lot of fun, and yeah.
Good luck to my victims.
Ferris, where are you? Where can people find you?
Every Friday on the Let's Get Ready to Talk Schmoe Down. Well, on the Let's Get Ready Network, we do the Let's Get Ready to Talk Schmoe Down podcast every Friday. I do the Highlights Sports Show every Monday. You'll see me here every Thursday. I'm at Ferris Mathana on Twitter. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right, cool. And Zach, where can people find you?
You can find me on www.youtube.com, and that's about it.
All right, cool. Now, right before we
just
go,
just on YouTube.
Just wanted to. We had you.
I thought you were. I meant for like after. I meant for like after.
Oh, okay. Goodbye. Fuck you.
What was that? Is that a spoiler?
Who is that? Is that a spoiler? What is that? Who is that man?
That he said send me the StreamYard. I thought he wanted to come on and talk shit or something about Fast and Furious. Oh man. Oh well. Shit, you know what, not. Matt? I hope not.
No, man. No, negative people are not allowed on this show. We're supposed to celebrate this franchise, man.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Don't worry about it, man. Matt's gonna be one of our guys on next week for Fast 5. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Boom.
So other than that, you can find me
that's
here.
Your teaser. That's your teaser.
Yeah, that's our teaser. He's one of the guys we're gonna find. You can find me here at Schmoe Me the Money. We got our main show on Tuesdays at 9 Eastern. It's a lot of fun. We break down the previous week's matches. Our most recent episode had Sabrina Ramirez and Thomas Harper and Brandon Hanna and Lacey Gillerin, and you all should really check that out because that was just a stellar show. I think it was the best one that we had yet. It's really quite a joy to have some of those people on and to hear like new personalities like Harper and Lacey come in. They're like a breath of fresh air with how enjoyable their presence is.
I'm watching that tonight,
and I look forward to be able to do stuff with them soon. They killed it. All of them killed it. And on top of that, we have our Falcon Winter Soldier reviews Saturday afternoons. And this coming week, it's it's Saturday at 1 Eastern, where we're going to be talking the second episode. We're going to have some people on there to talk as well. And other than that, I mean, we do have some other stuff in the works, and we'll be announcing that soon. So other than that, Just remember, guys, always remember to kick it up a nickel. All right.